I'm Mr. Martins Benny. I'm the one taking you gender issues, and in subsequent webinar classes, I I share with you the knowledge of what brought about gender issues. Um, I share with you the reason why we're studying gender issue as a course, and I was able to expose you to reasons why issues started up, how we are all a response of what our community has taught us, the response of religion, the response of culture, how we are a factors that surround us has makes us to see that you know the gender are not the same. So I could remember I told you that gender issues functions at household level, at community level, even in national level, and the society across cultural, economic, and political system. Gender issue is a very big matter that cannot be underestimated. So today, I just want to share a few things about gender discrimination. Gender discrimination. Sometimes some people call it gender violence, discrimination. And I established to you in previous class that gender issue is not only for maybe specifically for a particular gender in the right sense. The sort of gender issues is cut across cut across both genders, cut across both genders. But as far as this study is concerned, I told you that the the gender that have always been at the verge of discrimination over centuries has always been the female gender. So one way or the other, this our discussion is going to be cutting through. Our discussion is going to be cutting through uh, having in mind that the gender that suffered the most is the female gender. So let me quickly share you what I have with me today. Sorry, I won't be able to share my screen with you because of a few factors. So, gender-based violence, or usually called violence against women, is defined by United Nations in 1993, and it was said to be that the violence against women is any act of gender-based violence that results in physical, sexual, and psychological harm or suffering to women, including threats of such acts, arbitrary deprivation of liberty, whether in public or in private. I'll take it again. States that violence against women, that's the discrimination that is peculiar to women now, is any act of gender-based violence that results in physical, sexual, and psychological harm or suffering to women, including threats of such acts and arbitrary deprivation of liberty, whether in the public or in the private life. Now, I told you in previous class that many of the females are suffering on the inside, and because their voice are not being heard. Some will die with it. Some some of them will commit suicide in the process. Some of them will not live their life into fullness, and it is one of the things that's making our community to be in this situation that we are right now. Imagine someone who has been designed to provide a solution to a particular thing, and the person was not able to live in fullness because the environment does not give the chance for this individual to fulfill or to establish what um, the vision or the passion or the desire or the goal or the future of what this person was built for. Just because when the XY chromosomes have to swim into the to the womb, just because this individual makeup was a female, and which is not rightly, uh, which shouldn't be. So this violence against women or women violence or discrimination is any act of violence at all. That has to do with either physical, sexually, psychological suffering to any woman, including the threat of such acts. Either you do the act then, or you threaten someone to do this, to do the act. Now, I want you to understand this, because most of the time, some individuals have been victims, not knowing that what they do was that results in, look at it, physical, sexual, and psychological suffering to any woman, including threats of such acts. So either you threaten the woman that you're going to harm her physically, or you're going to harm her sexually, or you're going to harm her psychologically. Either you've done the act or you have not done the act. Either you've done the act. So you've done the act or you have not done the act whatsoever. You must understand that you threaten the woman that you're going to do, you're going to hurt her, or you're going to do certain things to her. Either, any form of it whatsoever is against the law. And it could cause you, in fact, it could cause you to be jailed. And it could cause you more damage than whatever you think. Now, some individuals would think that it is only if these actions were in public. Now, you can see what I was trying to show you, that either a threat of such act, an arbitrary deprivation of liberty, whether in public or in private life. So either you do all this to a woman in a private life, or you do this to a woman in a public life. It's still the same, it carries the same penalty. It carries the same penalty. It carries the same penalty. So you must understand that actions, wrong actions, and wrong notions, wrong way of addressing or improper way of addressing the woman because the person is a woman, or you now look down, you now feel like, okay, the woman is not part of the society or should not be added in the society. It's a wrong notion. It's a wrong notion, and it is criminal related offense. A criminal related offense. So any assault whatsoever on a female, either word assault, physical From here, I have the physical violence that includes kicking, punching, choking, burning, stabbing, pouring boiled water or hot water, setting on fire, homicide, or gunshot. Any of this physical violence is not allowed whatsoever. And not only for women now, for any gender. So you shouldn't say because of somebody is a particular gender and maybe you are grieved of there's a rift between you. So you now look like, okay, this person, you can't be, because you are this gender, and the next thing you start kicking the person, or start punching the person, or you start choking the person, or you even went far as burning or stabbing or pouring boiled water or hot water on the person, or setting the person on fire, or you kill the person by gunshot. It's wrong. It's against the law. Then from there I said psychological violence, that's the mental harm. Making some individuals might not be able to kick, puncture somebody or choke person, or maybe because they are scared, they might not be able to stab an individual, but they can talk and repeat verbal abuse. Verbal abuse is a psychological violence. You're abusing somebody, you're abusing a woman or you're abusing a man by repeated verbal words. It's a psychological abuse. It's a psychological violence. Splitting on the person. If you confine or you deprive somebody of physical, financial, and personal resources, you're dealing with the person psychologically. And it's called psychological violence. So because the person is a female now, you now decide to deprive the person of his physical, financial, and personal resources. We had cases of people who that because a the man got married to the man died in the process, and some family members will now come up and say, okay, now that the man is died, they were entitled to everything that the man has. Even we've had cases of even when the man has stated it on will that okay, this belongs to my wife. Some people say, some family members of certain communities will say no, they didn't agree with it. So they start depriving this woman or the children because he's a woman, depriving her of the financial resources or maybe other resources, physical and personal resources that belong to her. I've seen a case some years ago that it is so amazing. The family took up all the properties of that family, including the one that was owned by both of them, including the one that was even owned by the woman. So such psychological violence should not be permitted in our community. Then the next one I have is the sexual violence. Sexual violence. Sexual violence which includes abduction. Also, you remember the case of the Chibok girls that was abducted by the notorious band. So a case of a coerced sex through threats, intimidation, or physical forces. Trying to force someone into sex or threatening someone that you're going to have sex with the person is a sexual violence because you just want to intimidate the person that, even by even verbal words, like trying to tell the person that, you can oppress the person sexually. That's wrong. It's a sexual violence. So threatening someone you're going to have sex with the person it's a sexual violence. Then the case of rape, someone who been forced to an unwelcome sex. The person doesn't want to have sex. And the person is, by force was compelled to have sex. It is against the law. It is against the law. It is against the law. And it's a sexual violence. It is called sexual violence. So let's really take at the health consequences of this gender-based violence, this gender issues, this violence that is peculiar to peculiar to women. We're going to look at the health consequences of the gender violence against women. Then we have physical health. Their physical health obviously will be affected. Physical health will be affected. Some individuals will sustain physical injury in the process of this violence. We've had cases of people who lost vision, who lost their hearing, and some individuals' body physical nature have been disfigured. Disfigured. Have been disfigured. So in the process, their physical health can be affected because of the violence, of this same gender-based violence. So we need to, the environment needs, the community needs to be properly educated against this gender issues, of this gender violence whatsoever. So we can have a case of unwanted pregnancy. It's still part of the physical, it's going to affect a lot of things. Unwanted pregnancy. It's a shame on its own. Someone was compelled to have to be asked to, to cohabit with. And this person got pregnant. Then it could lead to having STI, that's sexually transmitted infections, and HIV/AIDS. They could affect the health of this person, contacting sexually transmitted disease, or even contracting HIV/AIDS. It could also lead to abortion. It could lead to abortion. It could lead to chronic pelvic inflammatory disease, especially the case of or who are raped by multiple individuals. It could lead to chronic pelvic inflammatory disease. Then at the same time, this individual can develop an irritable bowel syndrome. An irritable bowel syndrome. Just see that the person, just be complaining about bowel syndrome, having today is running stomach, different kind of pain, gross pain now, a very gross one on the bowel, on their bowel. Then it could also lead to self-injurious behaviors. Because of this sexual violence, or because of this gender violence, some individuals can be led into behaviors that are very, very wrong. Behaviors that they would not have done on a normal day. Behaviors that they wouldn't have prepared for. Behaviors that they wouldn't have wished for. Some of them, before they know it, because of the stress and the mental stress that's caused them, before you know it, they start smoking. I could remember a case that I was working on some time ago, and I started having a talk with this lady, and we started sharing words, and I realized that she didn't like herself. So when I dig it deep, I get to see more light into things, because I started asking her questions, started to see what is happening, get to see how possible she could be helped. I realized that she was grown in an environment whereby she got to hate herself because she wasn't treated well. She didn't feel love for the past, I think probably the first 23, 4 or 24 years of her life. She does not understand what is it to call being loved, being celebrated, being acknowledged, she has never seen anything like that in her life. It has never happened to her. And it has got so deep in her, not only that she is depressed. I'm still going to talk about mental health. We're going to talk about depression and the likes. Now, it's not that only that she is affected on that. She has cultivated the habit of, if she had to remember, or she remember our current. Now, one of the things that started happening is that she will start developing a strange urge to have sex. A strange urge to have sex. Now, you see that this thing has caused this young woman very, very much. It has caused her so immense issue. Now, if care is not taken, that you realize that this same person will start messing up in the community, and people will be like, oh, individuals will not understand our story. That's why I said it can lead to self-injurious behavior like smoking, unprotected sex, harming oneself. Have you heard about people who get angry and they start stabbing themselves? Have you heard about people who they got pissed about what they do or what has happened to them and they start choking themselves? Have you heard about people who intentionally poison themselves? And they don't use poison that will kill them instantly. They'll choose something that they know is going to keep damaging their system little gradually. So a lot of things are happening about this gender issue that need to be taken into consideration. So I have mental health here. I mentioned depression. Equally to depression. If someone is uh, is uh, is violently treated, equally to depression. I just mentioned a case of a lady just now. Depression, fears. I've realized recently when I was making research towards some of these young age fellows who are in their um, the present generation now, who are in their 20s, um, late teens, and their mid teens. The present generation we have right now. It's so amazing that I realized that many of them have went through traumas that they shouldn't have went through. It's a serious matter, a very, very serious matter. Some of them have, been exposed to things that they shouldn't have been exposed to. Some of them have gone through different kind of issues in their life that it will amaze you when you start hearing, or when they can pour out to you. You'll be amazed at the level of the decadency in the generation we are. Now, let me really take a list of the mental health issues that can develop from this same challenge. I have depression, I have fear, I have low self-esteem, I have sexual dysfunction, I have poor appetite, then I have post-traumatic stress disorder. I have poor appetite, I have post-traumatic stress disorder, I have sexual dysfunctioning, I have low self-esteem, I have fear, I have depression. I was addressing a lady some weeks ago. We're having a conversation, and I think our conversation started from, I was standing not too far from her, and I realized that she wasn't herself. And I asked her, I said, "What are you doing? What's happening to you?" She was like, "Ah, no, I'm fine. Nothing. I'm okay." And I know that's the major block for almost everybody. So I had to press forward and said, "You're not looking good, and this is worry. You're worrying about something." I was able to read through, and I got to know that she's worried about. And so, in the midst of it, she mentioned that she's that she's even thinking about her children. I said, "No, if I guess well, you haven't given birth to any. You're talking about your siblings." And she said, "Right, that's true." Now, like I said, I began to look deeply, and I realized that this young lady has went through different kind of things, different kind of abuse from different kind of people. We talked to a level, started crying, pointing out how she was sexually abused by someone um, at a very young age, and she hasn't healed up. Now, one thing that was specific that stand out to me when I was having conversation with her was she told me specifically that her self-esteem is zero, that she does not have any self-esteem at all. And I was shocked because that's going to be the first person I'm going to talk to that will be so blunt to a level to tell me that absolutely I don't just have self-esteem. So the first days or the first years of our life, the first sections of our life, the first 20 close of our life has been from one trauma to another. And what the challenge she's having is also gender related. It's gender related. Because I found that I think the reason why her mom was treating her the way her mom was treating her was just because she's a female. Now her mom is scared that she will not end up making a mistake. So the mother is over secured, or should I call it over secured now? Or the insecurity of the mom was giving the lady problem. The insecurity of the mom was causing more damage than help. So a lot of things started happening to this young lady, and she was telling me specifically that okay, even if she wants to do what her mom said she was doing, she has the liberty to do it because she can still find her way to do it. And I was like, no, no, no. And her esteem has gone to a level that if she doesn't have a good advisor, she's ready to mess her body up, just like her mom has been saying. And she has not messed herself up. But her mom has made it so obvious to everybody around her that she has messed up with her life. She has messed up with her body, like she has been sleeping all around with different kind of people. And this is someone who have not been doing that. So this gender issue that we're taking is a very, very critical matter that we really need to trash. We need to take it deep and focus on it. There are different other fatal outcomes that can come from this violence against women. You can have a case of suicide, you can have a case of homicide, and it could lead to death. It could lead to death. It could lead to death. So I will quickly take some traditional practices, some traditional practices, some traditional practices that affect the female gender. Their tradition, their cultures in different places. In some part of the world, different kind of things are happening. Even in the nation that we have, different things are happening. So I'll just quickly take a look at them and I'll round up on that for today. So we'll take some other things next webinar class. But before I round up, let me just introduce to you some of the harmful traditional practices that's been done to women generally. There's something called mutilation. Mutilation. Mutilation is to cut off or damage an important part of the body. So usually what happens is that this act is, I don't know the reason why people are so heartless, to that level. Of female genital mutilation. I'm talking about female genital mutilation now. Female genital mutilation, and Some people will just go ahead and dissect and remove the foreskin of the clitoris. The dissection and removal of the foreskin of the clitoris. Removing the foreskin of the clitoris is not ideal enough. Naturally, the only gender that could be circumcised is the male. Naturally. The only gender that could be circumcised. Is the male. There are some people who will now go ahead, apart from dissecting and removing the foreskin of the clitoris, they will remove the whole clitoris itself. You can imagine that kind of pain and mutilation. Removal of the whole clitoris. Then secondly, I have excision. Is a total removal of clitoris, a partial or total removal of the labia minora without the closure of the vulva. You can't. This is so painful. Removal of the clitoris and without the total removal of the labia minora and the closure of the vulva. So the clitoris will be removed. The labia minora also will be removed, leaving the vulva alone. This can only be done by heartless people. Because for no reason should this be done. But this is what is happening to the female gender. And it needs to be stopped. It needs to really be stopped. Then the last one I'm going to share with you, I think this should be the last one. Oh. Okay, let me just quickly share. Is what I called infibulation. Clitoris, labia minora, and inner walls of the labia majora are removed. You can imagine. Then the two labia are joined to close or seal, except for urine and menses. So, this individual clitoris, the labia minora, and the inner wall of the labia majora will be removed. So they will now have to stitch the two labias together. They'll stitch the two labias together. There's another case of another traditional method of women genital violence is reinfibulation. It is done if infibulation is not successful for the first time. If the woman is divorced, widowed, or separated. You can imagine what a bad culture. What a bad culture. Then I said defibrillation is done at marriage, during labor, or if there's an absolute need for pelvic examination. So all this cultural dysfunction against them, I call it dysfunction, the cultural dysfunction. That's telling or teaching people to mutilate female genital system is really wrong, really very, very wrong. So I've been able to share with you what I have for you today. Please, if you have questions, you can quickly ask on the question button before we call it a day for today. Question? Do you have any question at all? Any question whatsoever? Any question whatsoever? Any question whatsoever? Please, you can make use of there's a post there that's under your app that has a question, but There's a cursor there. Just click on question. Then type your questions there so that I can attend to them. Yes, I can. I'm still waiting for questions. 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 All right. If there's no question, I think we can round up on this note. So we'll meet next time on the webinar class. Thank you so much for joining. Now have a wonderful night rest.